Let's get into the Sydney Swans, gentlemen. So when you lose a grand final by 81 points, there's always a question mark of how on earth are they going to respond the following year. And the stats are pretty damning, Joey, when you suffer such a heavy grand final loss.
Yeah, well, they are. Sydney need to defy history, and that's just a fact. You look at the last 10 teams who have lost the grand final by 40 points or more. 6 of them didn't even play finals the next year, and the other 4 didn't win a final. So it's up, you know, they're up against it. Only 3 teams in the last 25 years have actually just played in a grand final, lost, and then won a grand final the following year. So it's very rare to be able to bounce back. So they've got some history to defy. Are they good enough? I think they are. I think that with their brand stacks up, they're well coached, that we know they've got stacks of talent. The only question is, did it come maybe a little bit too early? Because there is some history when you look back. Melbourne 2018 were a young side. They went over to Perth, got humiliated. It was Petrarca and Oliver's 3rd year. You know, some other guys playing in their 4th year. Spargo's first. They were quite young. West Coast 2015 grand final, got found out against Hawks. They were quite a young side. 3 years later, they bounced back and win it. That's going to be my question with the Swans. No doubt they're good enough. But maybe with history on my side, I think maybe it might be a year or 2 before they get back up the summit.
How can they minimise that? Do you think that it obviously comes from the coaches and the leadership group as to minimise that mental effect of such a heavy grand final loss? Because as you said, they got the talent, the structures, the coach, and John Longmire.
John Longmire's got the group, and he's a very smart operator and an experienced coach, and he would have sold it to the group in a way where you can see already that it might be in the back burner in terms of where they feel with it mentally, and that's all it really is. I think physically they looked as strong as we've seen them. Their running power is exactly where it should be at this time of year, leading into another home and away season. And so you're right. It lays with John Longmire, and I think he would have sold it in a really strong, positive way, because their season last year was excellent. And yeah, they had that final hiccup in the grand final, most important game of the year. We all understand that. But overall, the bulk of work that he got out of Warner and Gould and McDonald, McCart, we can just name them all. There's about 12 of them. That goes to another level this year, and I can see them defying, the stats of the past.
And Errol Goulden looks like he's playing just fine recently.
Well, I see it a little bit different to these guys. I think they're boys to men. They're becoming men right before our very eyes. They're still 14th in the competition for age in their profile. So they're doing all this ahead of time. So this is on absolute talent and obviously a little bit of system. So 8th for experience and 14th for age. So they've pushed games into these kids and got an unbelievable return. So they made finals 2 years ago, made a grand final last year. It is tough, a brutal competition. I agree with you, and the stats say what they say. But I think most teams that lose a grand final are cherry ripe with age, and when they tip over, they tip right over, and you almost start again. This group is incredibly young. 3rd year for Goulden, Campbell, McDonald. 4th year for Chad Warner. 5th year for Blakey, Rowbottom, McInerney, Wicks. They are just learning how good they can be, these guys.
You almost sell it like that if you're John Longmire. So we weren't meant to make last year's grand final, but we did. We'll get back there. It's fine. Let's talk about Errol Goulden, Joey, because you have massive raps on him and what you've seen recently.
Oh, absolutely. He was always going to come as being a star of the competition. It may just come a bit quicker than we all thought. You think about Chad Warner last year, his 3rd year in the competition, elevated to, top 20 player in the game, almost a Brownlow Smoky. I can see the same happening with Errol Goulden. Another one they can add through the midfield, a bit of a point of difference from the Parker, Rowbottom, Mills type, with his lethal left leg and his speed to get out on the outside. So just another one for John Longmire to play with through the midfield.
I think Chad Warner's going to be their best player, though. Very, very soon. It's probably Heaney at the moment. Maybe it's Mills, I'm not sure. But Warner had 52 shots at goal last year. 52 for a midfielder. That is a huge number. And off low disposals. He's not an accumulator. He's all damage. So I look at them and I think, OK, they weren't tough enough in the biggest game of the year. They got assaulted in the first 30 minutes of the grand final. I look at that in terms of what he would show the Sydney Swans in an off-season. This is the first quarter. Let's sit down and watch it again. Now, when you get your next opportunity, they hope it's 12 months away. It might be longer. But they'll be ready. And I think they've got to look at that midfield mix, not just the magnets, but guys that can actually perform in there. Because they're a poor clearance team and a poor centre-bounce clearance team. So when the output matches the magnets, I think you'll see a different Sydney.
Predictions?
I had top 4 for me. I think they can go again.
Top 4?
Yep.
Yeah, they'll still play finals. I think absolutely. They should win a final, let's be honest, even a couple. At the moment, as I said earlier, still got a couple of teams ahead of them that I think are ready. Sydney's time will come. I think they'll win one in the next few years. Maybe just not this year.
Just wondering who that forward target is. Is McDonald ready for that role? They've got good hybrid types and good midfielders that can go forward. Will Lance have another big year in him? I'm not sure. So I've got them in the finals. Not concerned about them at all like others are.
Yep.